Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I'm Gunnar Eels, and welcome to another episode of the Logical Gamers podcast. I'm here today with Mr. Blankakong and Mr. Esoteric, and today we are going to talk about the slaughter that is currently going on in the video game industry. What do I mean by slaughter? Live service games, mobile gacha games. There are a ton of them that are biting the dust currently. Some of them made it a year, some of them didn't even make it a year. But it seems 2023 is the year of live service games dying. At least some of them, not all. So, we got a couple articles that we're going to reference and talk about and the games they're in. As with every podcast that we reference articles, these articles will be in the description for you to read at your leisure. So, first one I'm going to start off with is an article. Excuse me, I should be faster with these things. An article on CBR.com about 10 popular gacha games that got shut down. Now, some personal backstory. I used to be pretty heavy into gacha games. I played some of the bigger ones. Some of them that we'll mention here, or at least one of them. I used to be pretty heavy in Dragalia Lost. I used to play Azure Lane. I used to play Fate Grand Order, that one is still operating and still kicking. So I kind of played some of the big ones, right? At least, relatively big ones. So, I used to be heavy in the gacha games. I kind of stopped because, one, I was spending a little bit too much money. And I keep telling the guys this every now and then. There was just a day that came up where something just clicked in my brain and I lost all interest in gacha games. There was no defining moment. I didn't lose $1,000 pulling from my waifu. I just woke up one morning and went, you know what? I don't want to play this anymore. And I tried to play gacha games after that, but it just didn't. I just lost, it didn't even last a week with me. So I was like, all right, well, I guess something in me is telling me to stop playing these games. But anyway, that's enough personal backstory. So, on this particular article, it names some popular gacha games that got shut down, such as Valkyrie Crusade. I want to play special note to Kingdom Hearts Union X. The reason why that one sticks out to me is because for some reason in Square Enix's infinite wisdom, they felt the need to make this canon to the Kingdom Hearts lore. So there will be stuff in the mainline Kingdom Hearts games that reference this fucking gacha game. And if you didn't play it, you're going to see characters and go, who are you? And for those who know about Kingdom Hearts, the lore is already hard to follow. So the fact that you had a gacha game tie into the lore of your game was fucking retarded. And now that this game is shut down, people can't play that game. I mean, yeah, we have YouTube. You can probably watch all the cutscenes, but you can't play this game anymore. But these characters will probably still be in the mainline Kingdom Hearts games. So fucking Square Enix, I don't get those guys. Puzzles and Dragons, which I was surprised at. I used to play Puzzles and Dragons way back. Now this article says that it can't be played anymore in Europe and China, so that means North America could still access it, but I mean, how much longer it is before NA gets the boot. But Puzzles and Dragons is an old school one. That was kind of like the OG of gacha games. So surprised to see that one has limited scope. Brave Frontier, I think I played this all of a week. Didn't last that long with me. Magia Records Termination, based off the Madoka anime, for those in the audience that know. That one's getting the boot. Tales of Luminaria, a Tales game. Bandai Namco kind of stuck their foot in the gacha pool and released a Tales game, and that's getting shut down. And I'm over here thinking, why not just make this a Tales game? Now, it's definitely possible that they could just take the assets from the Tales game, from this game, and put it into a single-player game, which I'll touch on my feeling about that later on as we get in. I hope they do, personally. Another Monster Strike. I've never heard of that one, but that's getting shut down. Final Fantasy Record Keeper. That one actually went on for a long time, but I guess now it's a Japan exclusive, so it's outside of the Western territories. That So the NA and the Europe version getting shut down, but it's going to stay alive in JP. Phantom of Kill, never heard of this one. Now this one, number one. This one kind of hit me because I used to play this one pretty heavily. Dragalia Lost. So this was a gacha game made by Sky Games and published by Nintendo. So this was like a Nintendo kind of publishing a gacha game, and Sky Games was the one that made it. Now this one was a great gacha game. And the reason why it got shut down, because it was very generous to free-to-play players, which is kind of the antithesis of gacha games. They're meant to kind of lure you in, have you paying money to pull, and Dragalia Lost was like the opposite of that. You can play that as a freemium user and be successful. Okay, so I fucking went on way too long. Some of these gacha games are great. Some of them I loved playing, like Dragalia Lost, and now it's sad to see that these games are going the way of the dinosaur. If you spent money on them, sorry, you're not getting that money back. Do you want to maybe play an offline mode and kind of relive some of the stages solo? Sorry, can't do that. So now if I click on my Dragalia Lost app, it's just going to give me an error. And that's the legacy of Dragalia Lost. It's just an error. So we have other articles we're going to reference in this podcast. I kind of just did a rapid fire one of a particular article. So, since I fucking talked enough, for the moment anyway, I'll pass it off to you gentlemen. I know you guys aren't really gacha game players, so this particular article might not mean much to you guys, but just like thoughts on the sheer scale of these gacha games getting either killed completely or being removed from NA and staying Japan exclusive, or any of that I mentioned in this article.
I guess I'll go, seeing as how I've dipped and dabbled in, a couple of gacha games. I've played Dissidia, Final Fantasy, Opera Omnia. Yeah, that's definitely a mouthful. And I've also played the Fate Go games. I had quite some fun in regards to it, mainly because not only was I had an aptitude for it, but I was lucky enough to pull units that most people struggle and pay money for, just by having the regular currency, which a lot of my people, my fellow friends that played, hated or made fun of me for. So I wasn't as committed to this particular types of games. So I was extremely casual when it came to that. When it comes to the article stating that a lot of these games are being sunsetted, it's really not a surprise. Like in the gaming world, they have this theme where if one thing is successful, a lot of companies will follow suit because they want to jump on that hype train and pretty much grab the gold, the same way like the original person who created this metric or this formula of type of games. So it wasn't a surprise to me, seeing as how that with these particular games, they tend to be very extensive on your time and money, and they also rely heavily on providing you nothing but content, as much content as they can. If I'm not mistaken, Opera Omnia, which is still running today,
yes,
it's still like it has content like every 2 weeks or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a while since I've played.
I haven't played in a while, but I remember there would always new characters being released, reworks to previous characters to keep them relevant, a bunch of events that were always going on. I mean, that game taps into the Final Fantasy mythos, so that in and of itself means it just has a ton of stuff to work off of. But yeah, they were fairly consistent with their content updates for that game. That from memory.
Yeah, exactly. If I had to make like an analogy, they're kind of like what the Marvel verse has created for their movies, where they started off with Iron Man, and then move forward into like Phase One, Infinity War, and Endgame. Now they're moving along to Phase Two. Like they've been slowly building, so they have enough content to build an archive of different character stories and like different aspects of like movies to turn to. They can create any character that they wish to in regards to a movie. Unlike unlike compared to DC, where they're just grasping for straws, right? They're just making movies just because there's no like connection to it. Which is why, Marvel is beating them, because they have a lot of content to work with. So I pretty much say that to say, whereas Final Fantasy is succeeding in this formula, a lot of games are not, because they're just trying to follow suit. They're not trying to actually build. I think that they was just going along for the ride because of the monetary aspect of it, and
Yeah, that's a
eventually,
very good point.
yeah, eventually it was just going to drop because, again, for the demographic, you have children who might be interested in these games. They don't have the monetary assets to acquire certain characters, so they might lean on, mom and dad or and guardian to provide them that. And being adults, as we all are adults, our money tends to be distributed among other things. So paying for digital content is the last thing on their mind. And then you have also adults who might be interested in these particular types of games, but the time allotted wouldn't allow them to, invest as much as they can in them, due to like different responsibilities, whether it's work, uh, maintaining children, houses, and so on. So I just feel like it was inevitable for most of these games to pretty much fall off the face of the earth. And what really sucks is, what you alluded to, Gunnar, is that these are games that you had to be there in order to enjoy them. Like, you can't go back to them, like how we have certain games, certain cartridges and stuff. Like, oh, this game probably has its like last update or whatever, so I can play the latest version of that game and it still holds. Whereas these gacha games, once they're cut off, that is it. There's no coming back. So it's nothing more of a memory and maybe a few YouTube videos. Um, so
Yeah, there's no offline mode, none of that. So once it goes, it goes.
yeah, it's none of that. And then another thing too is what these games like to do. They pull on the heartstrings of like characters that you've met before, that you had, with the exception of like a few, like Kingdom Hearts. Those are like new characters, never seen them before. I actually like, as you guys know, but the viewers probably don't. I follow the Kingdom Hearts games rather closely, and I agree with you, Gunnar, that it was a very stupid idea for them to implement a gotcha game into a canonical story that just didn't make any sense. I wonder how they're going to push that for the later games in order for people to understand the story.
Yeah.
It's just really dumb. But what these games typically do is they give you characters that you really enjoy, that you love to see. Like, for example, Fate Go. I love, her name isn't King Arthur, but she's
Artoria.
yeah, Artoria. I love that character, but I had to like depend on luck of the draw to get her. Whereas people who depend on that and then have to invest tons and tons and tons of money into her, still not get her. There's like a chance that they may not even acquire her, which sucks. They use that as a way to pull in people to acquire their game. So it just, basically what I'm trying to say is that it sucks. It's not a smart business. Well, it's kind of sort of is a smart business plan because they're getting their money while it's hot. it's not a smart consumer plan because you're not going to be able to enjoy the game in its longevity. And I'm pretty sure I rambled off enough. Like, what you got to say about all of that, Calm?
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah, you're here.
So the only gacha game I've ever played was Genshin Impact, which was a huge mistake. I didn't spend a lot of money on it. I probably spent like $100 total over like the 5 months that I played it, which I could live without. But looking back, first of all, I thought the game was. I enjoyed the game for what it was. Right, I enjoyed the visuals. I enjoyed the exploration parts of the game. I enjoyed the combat. I enjoyed, having like a team of characters in this like elemental system and like tagging characters in and out and all that. That was cool to me. I was like, this game is pretty cool. So I don't think the game is bad, but I think it's designed not for your entertainment purpose, but really to extract as much money out of you as possible. The hook is the game, right? Everything else about the game's purpose to exist is not necessarily for your entertainment. It's really just to extract money out of you. Once they have you, it's like, okay, well, now we've got you here. Pay up, kid. You want this right. New waifu or this new husbando character? It's gonna cost you some money. Oh, you want to make them stronger? It's gonna cost you a little more, right? Oh, you want the best weapon for them? You're gonna have to pull out that wallet, right? And so once I started to realize that this is what the game was, and with the content updates that they kept doing, it was just like more characters. I'm like, can we get some real fucking multiplayer content here, please? Like, please? Like, can we get something? And it was just met with 3 new characters. I'm like, I don't fucking care. Can I make the characters I have good, please? So I played that game for about 5 months, something like that, and I was pretty into it. I was playing it every single day, doing my dailies and all that. And something funny, kind of like how Gunnar said, something clicked in my head. I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? What the fuck am I doing here? Why am I collecting these shards or whatever? Like, for what? Like, no. We're gonna stop here. I made one character as strong as I could, and I stopped. That character was Razor, in case anybody's wondering, it's the werewolf kid. So seeing this article and seeing all these games bite the dust, it sucks for the people who have enjoyed these particular games. I feel bad for the consumers who actually genuinely enjoyed the gameplay. And it sucks for people behind the development who enjoyed developing for this game, right? The artists, the modelers, the programmers, people, because listen, some people are in it for the wrong reasons, but some people are just in it for the check. But they're, within the game development space, art space, a lot of people do what they do because they love it. So it sucks for these people that they're gonna have to move on to other projects or, move on to different companies or whatever. It's unfortunate, but my initial response is good. This is a good thing. I'm glad that these games are biting the dust because I hate what this business model represents. It preys on the flaws of the human mind, and I think it's really disgusting. And the fact that you're able to monetize off of people's weaknesses of addiction is gross, and it shouldn't be allowed. Right? I don't agree with that. I think there should be limitations on that. I feel the same way about the tobacco industry. I feel the same about clothing industries. I feel the same about alcohol, the alcohol industry, like liquors and all that. Like, that's bullshit. Like, that's not okay. It's wrong. It's just wrong. But it's not illegal technically, right? So, as long as it's not illegal, companies they're gonna do what they do. And as long as people are susceptible, they're going to consume. That's just the way that it is. So I'm glad that some of these companies are, they're being forced to move on to different things. They might just open up a new gacha game, right? Like, for some of these people, it's like, whatever. We'll just open up shop down the block. And we'll sell the same product, and they're going to be consumers that are going to run and flock to that product and buy and consume, and nothing will really change. However, I am happy that that there's a clear cap, right? It's like a pie chart. there's only like 100% is 100%. There's a market share, so you can't exceed 100%, right? You can't get more than what the cap is. And I think Gacha games or games like it they now see what that cap is. They get, okay, we don't have more than X amount of consumers in this market share, in this marketplace, unless we recruit more people somehow, right? But there's a pretty hard cap. And so there's only a certain amount of money in these spaces that can go around, and we all have to compete for it. So the games that you guys talked about, Final Fantasy Opera something.
Yeah,
Opera,
sure, that one. So that game clearly has a hold on the market share of gacha game players, and so that game will continue to thrive until it gets dethroned by whatever the fuck is out there.
Usually the success rate is if your game lives past a year, it has a decent future. There's always exceptions to the rules. I've seen games that have last 2 years and then get the boot. But usually if your game lasts the year, it's gonna stick around for a little bit. But you were gonna say something, Esoteric. I cut you off.
No, I was gonna say that from what I see is the correlation to the gacha games that are currently existing that are doing like really well. They have some type of tenure within the market. Like take the Final Fantasy game for example. Like Final Fantasy has been around since I believe before we were even born. So a lot of these characters we have grown up with, and to see them on a mobile device, to not only just the characters per se, but the gear, like the weapons that you get, the enemies that you fight, the move skills and whatnot. Like they recycle all that information that they've created from like Final Fantasy 1 and so on, like till now, and they use that as a way to pull on our what's what I'm looking for,
heartstrings.
Yeah, pull on our heartstrings,
yeah,
as well as FOMO and exclusivity, because I think when it comes to games like when it comes to gacha games, and when it comes to like MMOs and things of that nature, I feel like one of the biggest things that makes them thrive is exclusivity. Like you want to be that player that has this weapon or that gear to walk around like, yeah, I'm that shit. I got this far. It's like you're slinging your dick and you're like showing everyone like how long it is. Those are like one of the main things that, in my opinion, makes MMOs and gacha games thrive. It's the FOMO, 100%. The exclusivity, and the heartstrings.
100%. Yeah. Which I think is disgusting. Like I think it is. I think it's a shithead business model. It works, but from a morality standpoint, I can't support it. I'm not okay with it, right? And when one of these games eat the fucking dust, like I'm okay. I'm more than happy. I'm like, great. Another one bites the dust. Get fucked. Like, good riddance. I look forward to the day that Genshin Impact fucking eats it, right? When that happens, I'm like, good for you, motherfucker. But then by then it doesn't matter, because the people who have been affected by that game are affected, and the people who have made millions or billions of dollars are just fucking millions and billionaires, right? They are the ultimate winners, and that's really shitty, but that's just the way it is right now. So
yeah, and I was just gonna address Kong before you get to the next part of the topic. Is that you mentioned something about characters. Now, one thing about gacha games is and like in that regard, if you want a character just because of like their look, because you enjoy the character, you have this kind of connection with the character because you've played with them in prior games, and you just want to have them, and they don't really bring any like differences within the game, you can do without them and still progress. That's okay, because you still can progress through the game without the character. Now what Final Fantasy Opera Omnia does is that you can potentially be fucked if you don't have a particular character. So what they do is they'll release events that you need to pass to get certain items to upgrade your weapons. And then they'll also have like a guest character that goes to the theme of the mechanics of that particular boss fight that you're fighting. So, for example, let's say you have an enemy that deals nothing, like a whole bunch of status effects, and you need to get them off as soon as possible, otherwise he can wipe your party. In that same token, what they'll do is they'll introduce that character that's optimized for that particular fight. And from there, they would essentially have you pull for them, and you would have to upgrade them as well. So you have you pull a weapon from the character. That's how you get the character. And then you have, like, I would say maybe from the time that I was playing, they started off with 3 different types of weapons, and those 3 weapons provide you with 3 different skills in order to fully optimize a character. So what you had to do is you had to get those 3 weapons. Not only did you have to get those 3 weapons, you also had to get 3 more of those 3 weapons just to max out the character's stats and move pool within that weapon. From there, you need another item that you get from beating certain events in order to upgrade the biggest, like the most powerful weapon at that time. You need one of those. Then you need like more items just to upgrade that weapon. It was just a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot that went into it. And it's like, okay, fine. If you was just getting the character again, just because you have some nostalgia or you have some connection with it, that's perfectly fine. But those characters were essential to the fight. There may be some alternatives for you to get past certain bosses. Like there's some alternate characters that you may use in your arsenal that's probably fully upgraded. However, you're gonna have the easiest time with that introductory character for that theme, for that fight. So, you know, I would like to point out that that's also a very scummy tactic.
Is perpetuate FOMO. Perpetuate the FOMO. That's all that is.
Yeah, you're perpetuating the FOMO. That's one thing, but it's another thing that you have a harder time to progress through the game because you don't have the character. It's one thing to want the character.
What makes you want to fucking buy the fucking character because you want it, because the progression is what you want, right? Or the status. Yeah. It depends on who you ask. It might differ from person to person, but like you want to progress through the game. You want to be stronger. You want to access whatever prizes are at the end of the trial or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if in order to get there you need Cloud, then you're gonna pull for Cloud. And you're gonna keep paying if you could afford it, if you could swing it, if you got the credit cards. Fuck it, I'm gonna keep going and get Cloud. And then the problem is the lack of foresight for these particular consumers or players. Okay, you get Cloud. Okay, you get the magic sword. Whatever. Cool, good job. Next? In 3 years, the game is done. Like, what if the game shuts down? You're fucked. It means nothing now. Or even, well, not even worse, but just as bad. There's power creep. So the weapon that you're working so hard to acquire, the items you're working so hard to acquire, spending so much money potentially to acquire, means nothing in 6 months. The fuck? Why even do any of this shit?
Yeah, and also to add to your point, the percentages, the rate drops in which that they are available sucks. Like 1%, like 0.0005%. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
No fucking thank you. Keep your fucking game, your operas and your Final Fantasies and your Dragralias and your Lost. Keep all that shit. I'm not interested in any of it. Right. So anyway, let me just reference another game that's getting the boot in the gacha space, and that is another Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy
Brave Exvius,
the first Soldier shuts down in
the
January,
first Soldier.
Which is already shut down. Right. We're recording this in February. This is going to publish, I think, in February or maybe March. So yeah, this game was announced, or it came out in November 2021, and as of January 11th. 2022, it has been shut down. So this game is done. This game was out for a little over a year, and you just play it as like one of the random soldiers, and it was a battle royale game. What the fuck is Square Enix doing making battle royale mobile games? Or what are we even talking about anymore?
I can tell you why. It's because PUBG and Apex Legends exist, and Fortnite exists, and SE want to get in on that battle royale pie. But they forgot to look at the pie graph, like you mentioned earlier.
There's a cap.
Let's be real. The consumers may have FOMO, but You know, the producers, the companies have
Also
FOMO
have
as
FOMO.
well.
Yeah, FOMO's
So-
all around. I don't want to miss out on those billions of dollars we could be making, right? And
Yeah, I'm sure the SE suits, they look at how much money Apex, which, as we'll get to, Apex is not immune from this. But
Nope.
they look at Apex and they go, wow, they make how much a year? And we make how much on a shitty one-time single-player Final Fantasy game? Toshi, what can we do?
we need to infiltrate this market, right? And I'm glad they ate shit for it. The game is shutting down over a year. Fucking get fucked. Stay in your fucking lane.
Right. Now, if this was a single-player game, you could have taken out the Battle Royale, give it a storyline. It's in the world of Final Fantasy VII. Come on. 7 is a popular game for... Yeah, but no, let's make it a Battle Royale because my money, my Battle Pass.
That's what the kids want.
And notice this scummy tactic. Like, of all the Final Fantasy games they could have equated this to, they picked 7. Why?
Oh, yeah, no.
Was the most popular Final Fantasy game.
That, and I guess it's the most canonically one that makes sense. It's either that or 13, because it has guns. It'd be weird if we're doing Final Fantasy 1 and we're running at each other with swords. I don't know, maybe that'd be more interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, bows, arrows, and things like that.
I don't want to give him ideas.
Yeah.
So moving on from Gacha games, let's talk about live service games for a second. So a lot of live service games are eating shit too this year. Let's go down the list. And there's an article in Destructoid that we're going to reference that will be in the description, so you can check it out, read it for yourself. So Gunnar mentioned Apex Legends. Apex Legends Mobile is shutting down. Battlefield Mobile, which didn't even get released, is shutting down before it even got released. Rumbleverse, Crossfire, Knockout City, and Marvel's Avengers is shutting down come September of 2023. These are games that I also hate because you can't... My biggest problem with them is that they're out just to extract as much money out of you as possible, which makes me feel weird. You ever go to a store and, like, electronics store, let's say like PC Richards, for example, or something like that, and you go in there, you're looking at the TVs or whatever, and then there's a guy who just approaches you and he's like, hey, what you looking for? You already know that this guy doesn't give a fuck about what you need or what you're looking for or any of that shit. He's looking to just extract as much money out of you as possible and make a big sale because that's his job, and he gets paid via commission, right? And so I hate that feeling. Whenever I go to a furniture store or electronics store or anything, I hate that. I truly despise it. It's like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, I don't need your recommendations. I know it's not coming from a place of being genuine. It's just this is your air quotes job. I get it, but just not me. Like, I'm not the target here. Leave me the fuck alone. I hate that feeling. It's really awkward, especially when you're trying to shop for something. You're looking at stuff and they're just on you. It's like, dude, go away. I fucking hate that shit. I actively do not. Once I get that, I don't ever come back, or I'll just order it online and be done with it. Right? Anyway. Live service games feel like the video game equivalent to that, where I'm just trying to play a game and I keep getting this pop-up of like, buy this or buy that, or if you had more currency, you could get this character and this would be easier. Fuck off. I'm trying to play the game. I hate live service games for that reason, and also for the reasons I don't like gacha games, is you can't access the content in the future. I got my Monster Hunter collection. I've got Monster Hunter on the Wii, on the PSP, on the PS2. I even have the Japanese import for Monster Hunter Portable Third on PS3. I've got Monster Hunter World on PS4. I've got all the variants of the main Monster Hunter games. Whenever I want to, I can start a new character and just play through the game. As though the game was new, right? And just play through the game and enjoy the content. You can't do that with live service games. Unless they add like offline mode, like the developers for Back 4 Blood are doing, because that game is also going to cease. They're going to cease supporting that game as far as like new content is concerned. But they added an offline mode so that you can at least enjoy the content once the servers eventually.
Thank goodness for that, because like we said, most of the time it's just error screen. That's how your disc or your app is going to operate. Error screen.
Yeah, which sucks. I hate that because there are games like last year I played Dino Crisis for the first time. And it's a game I always wanted to play. I just never got around to it. The game came out 20 years ago. And I got to play it last year because it's just available, right? And I'm able to enjoy it and just go, wow, this was really cool for its time. And I genuinely enjoyed the game. And listen, you can't play everything, especially as you get older, you become an adult, you get more responsibilities, you take on more adult tasks, whether that be family or work or kids or a wife or a husband or whatever. Like, you have less time for yourself, or just less energy, or both. And so you don't have time to do all this stuff that you typically would do as a 19-year-old or a 15-year-old or whatever. So yeah, you might miss some things and you might want to go back and try it out. But now with this new business model, this new way of consuming video games, you can't really do that. Like, you either got to do it now or you're out. And that sucks. I hate that. So anyway, I've said enough. What do you guys think about live service games, the particular ones that I mentioned, eating shit, and also just about the business model as a whole?
Well, I was gonna say, before you start, Gunnar, I was gonna say to your point about the business model. I'm starting to see that business model trickle down to some like AAA titles, like in regards to like the live advertisement. The last time I saw it was on Street Fighter 5. You know, I kind of booted it up, about to fight around online, and then they started throwing advertisements. They're like, oh, did you purchase these new swimsuit costumes for these characters? Get it right now. Like, it had a whole advertisement loading screen, and then it also had like an advertisement loading screen for getting the not the collector's edition, but the, you know, like the ultimate edition of Street Fighter 5 when you pick it up, and they have like all the characters if you haven't purchased them little by little. I know Street Fighter 4 usually refer to them as like arcade edition or like ultra. But Street Fighter 5, I'm not sure what the wording is. But anyway, the point is that it scares me because I'm starting to see mainstream games become susceptible to this particular corporate strategy, and it sucks. Like, I just want the game to load. I want to see both characters, you know, getting revved up before the fight, and then I just want to, you know, go to town kicking whoever's ass or getting my ass kicked and so on. I don't want to see no advertisements pertaining to what the costumes are. If I wanted the costumes, I would have acquired the costumes. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty wild. And I know, I don't know if it was Street Fighter, but they, like during like the loading screens, they would actually play advertisements. I think they got a lot of backlash for that, so they stopped it. Because that's like, bro, I don't want to see a fucking advertisement for a real world thing while I'm playing Street Fighter. That just kills the entire fucking immersion of me playing this game.
I think one of the first games to try that was the NBA games, right? Like, they would do live, you know, new show on HBO, whatever, during, like, in between, like, you know, basketball.
Which, in a weird kind of meta sense, that makes sense, because that's how it kind of is if you actually go to a basketball game, or like if you watch the Super Bowl or in America or any sporting event, they'll go through like the first half and then there's a fucking Applebee's commercial or something. It's weirdly meta, but still, leave that to the actual like televised sporting event, not the video game. But to your question about these live service games biting the dust, I'm with you, brother. I'm like, cool story. Let's see it happen more. I mean, I am a proponent in the single player experience. I know, you know, the younger generation, they like their multiplayer games, and I get it. Like, you know, a lot of us, we're a distance apart, and multiplayer games could be a reason, or could be a vehicle for us to get together, shoot the shit, and play. But every once in a while, like, there should be a couple games that do that. Now it feels like almost every game wants to shove a multiplayer component or make their game completely multiplayer, and I'm not down with that. But as far as these live service games go, to me, the moment something mentions live service, I check out. I tap out immediately. I'm not interested. Because you start mentioning battle passes, you start mentioning loot boxes, you start mentioning, oh, we have a roadmap. When they say roadmap, I'm like, no, nah, this is a failure. Another article that will link is a Games Hub article talking about Marvel's Avengers. That's shutting down. Like a big game, another one by Square Enix. I keep telling y'all, Square Enix taking too many L's recently. That game was kind of a mess from the start, right? Spider-Man is tied to the PlayStation consoles. Everybody made fun of the Avengers cast. They looked like, I remember reading something that made me chuckle, was that they said all the Avengers looked like the stunt doubles for the movie characters. And I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, you look at Steve Rogers, like, you look like his stunt double, not Steve Rogers that I know. And I get it, there's like licensing with actors and their likenesses. I get that. But they didn't even look like their comic book iterations. They just look like cosplayers who were dressing up as Captain America. And I was like, why does this game look so scuffed? And then when you actually saw the gameplay of Marvel's Avengers, you were like, I get it. It is just a treadmill. All it is new event, grind enemy, get better gear. New event comes out, grind enemy, get better gear. And I love RPGs. That's my main genre. So I love grinding, but it has to be a fun grind. And that Marvel's Avengers was not a fun grind. From what I saw, because I never played. But I saw enough to know that was not a fun grind. And yeah, I guess the community agrees with me, because Square Enix is cutting their losses, and they're shutting down the game. Square Enix ended up in the red on this game. And this is with
Good.
Yeah. And this is with Marvel. This is the Marvel IP at maybe not the height, but while Marvel movies are still coming out in theaters, right? The normies love Marvel. And comic book fans, to a degree, love Marvel. But it's just like, if they couldn't make the Marvel's Avengers work because it was a live service model, that just tells you that not every game should be a live service. And look, if it takes a couple of these live services to hurt these companies' bottom line, and maybe they fucking take a step back, especially in the case of Square Enix, and they go, what made us successful? That's right. Single-player Japanese-style RPGs. That's what made people give a damn about us. Hey, I'm all for it. Return to tradition, I say. So, I'm cool with it, man. I know some people will get hurt because this was maybe their favorite game, but hey, look. That's the dice you roll when you start playing these live service games. You might have an Apex, or you might have a Marvel's Avengers. You'll never know.
That's true.
True, and I say good. Fuck them. Yeah. Fuck them. Not the consumers, because they don't. Maybe they don't know any better. Maybe they just like. I know there are just people out there who just play like, oh, this is a new Marvel game. I'm down. I love Marvel, and they just play it, right? And that's fine. Like, I'm not gonna be an elitist like, oh, I know more than you, and I don't listen. Whatever, dude.
Right.
You play what you play. You like what you like. Cool. I'm gonna play what I play. I'm gonna like what I like, and we could coexist just fine. But my problem isn't with the consumers. It's more so with the developers and the publishers. They know what the fuck they're doing.
Oh yeah.
They put out a subpar fucking game in Marvel's Avengers, right? They attach the IP that everybody likes, in hopes that, okay, this is enough. This should be enough. And the game came out and it was ass. It was fucking terrible. It was not good. It did not play well. It was not fun. It was not even pretty, right? Like, y'all couldn't get anything, right? Because y'all was so stuck on, we just want to extract instead of just
less is more.
Producing a good product. Just make a good game. If you make a good game, it will simply sell. Check Elden Ring. Check Spider-Man 2018. Check the two last God of War games that came out. Those are just good games with good stories and just solid gameplay.
The game will sell itself. There's a problem to that. The companies want residual income. They think on less is more. That's the problem.
I get it. Like, I'm not. Listen, I get the hustle.
I know you do.
But it's just. No, like, I don't agree with it. I'm not going to subscribe to it, and I'm not going to support it, right? And I'm going to actively be against it. period, right? And if they eat shit, good. Let them eat more shit, is what I say. So that's the whole point of this particular episode, is to talk about this and to kind of like, I guess in our own way, perpetuate how we feel about it. And maybe, just maybe, this podcast or this conversation might be the finger snap that some people need to hear. Go, shit, you know what? Maybe I don't need to play these games, or maybe I don't need to continue to play this mobile game that is extracting $500 a month from me. Maybe I could stop. Maybe I should do something else, right? Maybe. And if I get one person to realize that and to make better fucking consumer decisions in the video game space, then I say that's a fucking win as far as I'm concerned. So, anyways, let's move on to another article that we want to reference. I think Zeta brought this one up, or was it you, Gunnar? The Square Enix, another Square Enix game, the Chocobo Racing game.
That was me. It was me.
Okay, so this game's also eating shit. And what's funny is when you brought this up, I thought this was just like a Mario Kart clone, which it is, but like I didn't know it had this like battle pass content distribution model. I had no idea. I thought it was just a quirky Mario Kart Final Fantasy mashup that you could just play, and apparently no, it has this fucking business model tied to it. So I'll let you talk about it, and yeah, we'll reference the article in the description in case anybody wants to read it.
Yeah, so the article that we're talking about is a Kotaku article. I know, Kotaku, but you know, the substance of the article checks out. It's, you know, this game is a kart racer, like Kong said, and you know, December 21st, which as of the recording has already come and gone, the game is dead essentially. And to quote Square Enix, they said there will be no further large-scale updates. Basically, that means that this game is, for all intents and purposes, abandoned. More than likely, they'll have a skeleton crew to maintain the servers, which doesn't take much. This is Square Enix at the end of the day, so they could probably spare a bit of server space for this game to still operate. But essentially, the game is done. There will be no more content updates, no more new racers, new characters, new courses, nothing. What's in the game is what's in the game. And
so I have a question. Are you able to play this game offline by yourself?
Yes. Thank goodness for that. You can play it. You could play it by yourself, and I believe the servers are still going to stay operational, so you could still race with the 3 other people that are playing this game. So how they're doing it is kind of how most of these games, when they're shutting down. So the current and last update is Season 5. The ranking system will continue without the use of the Battle Pass, so you can still collect the rewards there. The premium currency called Mithril is no longer being sold. If you have any Mithril, you spend it, but you can't buy anymore. And basically, that's it. What's ever in the current Season 5 Battle Pass, that is what's going to be the final content for the game. So you could still probably unlock it, because another of these pitfalls of these type of games is that they'll say, oh, you can get everything if you just grind, right? If you just play enough, you can get them. Little do they say, it's like, well, you might have to play for 3 months straight to maybe afford this character, or you could give us some cash money and buy this character right now. So now that Chocobo GP is no longer accepting currency, all that's left is the 3-month grind. So even if you still play this game and you want to unlock, let's say, Squall, for example, because I know Squall is one of the racers you can get, you're gonna have to grind for him. There is no other way. So another kind of like happy accident is that when these games shut down, you see how predatory they are. You see like how they design their business model to prey on FOMO, like we've been saying, and to just like beat you down until you give in and put in the credit card. Because when you see how long these grinds are, you go, wow, that's pretty fucking shitty. And it's not until you see the game shut down and the only thing left for you is the grind that you see this. So I mean, I think Chocobo GP could have been a fine game. It could have been, another kart game. Would it have dethroned Mario Kart? Of course not. Mario Kart's king. But could it have been like a quirky, fun Square Enix version? That if you like Final Fantasy, you could play that. Like maybe you're not a fan of Mario, but you're a fan of Final Fantasy. You could play that. Now you can, but you're essentially playing with a corpse. If I'm going to be macabre about it, because the game's dead. It's abandoned. So it's really sad. I wasn't a big fan of it.
Yeah.
But again, it's like another game that could have just been something if they just made it a solid multiplayer game and maybe charge for character packs like how Mario Kart does it. Well, they'll have packs that give you new maps, new racers, new vehicles. People love that in Mario Kart. We just saw a Nintendo Direct not too long ago where they're adding more stuff to Mario Kart. So if you're an avid Mario Kart racer, you have your main game, which has all the tracks already included in the initial asking price, and you have all this future content. But you still have a solid game at its core. But when you start adding all this fucking battle pass and microtransactions, you end up with a good game that ended up dying a death.
Yeah, battle passes can suck my dick. I fucking hate them. They're so fucking. They're I mean, it's so it's effective, right? I'm not gonna sit here and deny.
Yeah, I
so
get
effective.
the methodology. Yeah.
Because when I played what was the last game I had played that had a battle pass? I think it was Pokemon Unite. I was kind of like, I really want those pants or whatever. I don't know what the fuck for. Stop. I had to keep telling myself, don't allow it to could take control over you, because it's designed to go after you your more primal lizard brain instincts. And I'm a completionist when it comes to certain things. So for me, it's hard to not see for the battle pass for it to skip items, although I leveled up. And it's oh, that sucks. I'm gonna miss out on this, and this.
Yeah, but you didn't buy the premium battle pass.
It's really fucking shitty, and it's this sucks, man. And I get it, for a game like that, it's a free to play game, so they got to make their money somehow. So I'm a little more forgiving there, I guess. I still don't like it, and I try not to play those kinds of games because I'm human and I have weaknesses after all, right? Like if a naked woman just was in my bed, right? I'm kind of hard to resist, right? It's right there. Right?
No, ma'am. I need you to please leave. I have to sleep. Thank you. Please have a good night. Please
Get out. Right?
But that's how you got to be with this stuff. It's just yeah, okay. Pokemon Unite. I need you to put on your clothes, and I need you to get out.
Put the boobs away and get out of my face. I know what you're here for. You don't love me.
Yeah. And even games like Pokemon Unite. Okay, it has the Pokemon name behind it, so it might stick around longer. There might come a point where that game dies.
Oh, for sure.
And then, what
happens? Because it's Pokemon, so it
right? Yeah. I mean, but if that happens, what happened? Even though it could have been a great game, it's because it's a live service, online only game. All of that shit goes. It just goes. You're not seeing it. You're definitely not getting a fucking refund. So it's the terms of service says you paid for a product and. Legally, yeah, you did, but morally, yeah.
You're truly just renting the product.
And you are, yeah.
That's what bothers me, is the lack of ownership. And I don't get me wrong. Listen, I love Monster Hunter World. I don't say the best Monster Hunter game I've ever played, because Unite and Freedom and 4 is up there, but definitely one of the greatest Monster Hunter games in the franchise's history, right? But it pisses me off a little bit to know that there isn't a Game of the Year edition where all of the downloadable content is just on the disc, right? If my PlayStation messes up or something like that, and the servers are gone, let's say 20 years from now, and I want to play the Fatalis fight, I can't, unless I have an alternative way to download the content. Can't.
Yeah.
Right? Where are you going to download the content from? That pisses me off. That really annoys me. Same thing with Rise and Sunbreak. Like, Sunbreak's content is in the ether. It's in the clouds. It's not on a cartridge. That pisses me off. That really annoys the fuck out of me, because I know there's a possibility that I may not be able to access this content at some point because of that. Like, let's say just unfortunate events happen, right? And I just, I lose my save data, I lose my cartridge, I lose my Switch or whatever. That's it, right? Like, I have to hope that I can get the content through other means. I don't want to go through all that trouble. I just want the content there. I paid for it. Just give it to me. Just let me have it here,
And it's funny you mentioned that, because a lot of players back in the days during the PS3 era, they felt that shit for the what was it? The Silent Hill demo, I believe it was, where after they took it down. PT. Yeah, PT. Excuse me. They felt that because, like, if you did not download it at that time, you were screwed. And if you had to get a whole new PS3 for whatever reason, and remember at that time with the PS3,
PS4.
Oh, it's PS4.
Yeah,
okay. PS4. And if you had to get a whole new PS4, you were done. That was it. Like, there was nothing.
If you go online and you check for PS4s that have the game pre-installed, those PS4s goes for hundreds of dollars more than what the asking price is for a PS4. Same thing as if, like, you go online and you look, I need an Xbox 360 that has Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on it. You're at $800, sir. Like, what the fuck? That's insane.
Yeah, that's a bit much to me, but yeah.
So, anyway, I've said what I had to say about this particular topic. You guys have any final thoughts, or should we wrap it up and go home?
I'm pretty good, man. I mean, you reap what you sow, and I think some of these companies should just go back to what they're known for and stop trying to break into these markets. You've already got the established guys. I don't know, maybe fucking put Cloud in Fortnite if you want to get a check. I don't know.
Well, before we go, I have a question. Like, did they though? Like, I feel like that was a part of the business plan to put it there and then pull it out as soon as possible. I mean, based upon some of these games, like, I'm pretty sure they didn't anticipate it lasting as long as it did. Like the Chocobo Racing. I think it was a marketing ploy to put the game there, pull on the heartstrings, get as much money, and then just dip out on a plus. And I think they're gonna continuously do that. They're gonna try other IPs that fans like. They're gonna incorporate a gacha system or a live service system, put it out there for a couple of months, and then pull that shit out again. Free the server space for another game. Like, I don't know. I think it's a less is more effective model on their end, and I think by end of 2023, there's going to be many, many more of these games coming out.
I mean, it's always possible. With games like Marvel's Avengers, Square Enix admitted that they lost on that, and I don't have a source, unfortunately. I couldn't find it, but I remember, I think the CEO quoting saying that their single-player games were directly impacted by the failure of Marvel's Avengers. So games like the Final Fantasy remake, games like Triangle Strategy, which we see that game sold pretty impressive for a single-player new IP. Their single-player games, basically they said the money we spent sunk into Marvel's Avengers, we could have put that towards new single-player IPs, or maybe spending more development time on the ones we did with, and those games could have been better. Like, they admitted that. So if they wanted to make a cash grab with a game like Avengers, they fucking read the room completely wrong. And they thoroughly failed on that. Because not only did they lose money on Avengers, Disney didn't give a fuck. They got their check. Their check cashed. So they're like, oh, I don't give a shit. But all it did was hurt Square Enix and the single player games that people expected. So I get what you're saying, and to a certain degree that might be. I mean, Apex Legends Mobile could have been something like that, because I'm pretty sure they got a decent chunk out of Apex Legends Mobile, but they were like, yeah, you know what? It's too much work. We clearly have the PC and console versions. That's our main bread and butter. So they just, like, got rid of the flagging cell phone, this flagging mobile brand, and just kept the console. But yeah, they could have gotten a pretty penny out of the mobile brand and then cut the cord. It's possible, but I agreed with you until I looked at Marvel's Avengers, and that's in no world was that a good idea from Square Enix.
No, it definitely wasn't. I mean, of course, there's going to be some like exceptions to the rule, but I feel like for most of these other games, not trying to diminish like the developers and the creators, the modelers, and people who put their heart and soul into the game, but let's take the Chocobo Racing compared to the Marvel Avengers game. Even though the Marvel's Avenger game looks terrible, we can unanimously say that. You can still clearly see that more work was put into that game and more like monetary assets was put into that game as opposed to Chocobo Racing. So of course it was a higher loss to them than them losing Chocobo Racing. It's like, well,
I say good. Let them keep tripping over fucking coffee table after coffee table after coffee table until they fucking run out of money and realize, you know what? Maybe we should just stick to what we fucking know. Let's produce some good Final Fantasy JRPGs or just JRPGs in general. Let's stick to our lane. Let's do what we do, right? That's what Capcom is doing. Working out for them, right? So maybe, I don't know, stick to your fucking lane.
Yeah, man.
So,
yeah.
Not everything needs to be fucking just because Fortnite does it or
it really does.
Call of Duty Warzone is successful doesn't mean it's gonna work for you, right? Stick to what you know. But that's just my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't think so. But my solution is simply not to play these games. You,
the viewer at home, how much evidence did we provide you? All these articles you can read for yourself. There's a lot. It's piling up.
If you want more evidence, I mean, go to some Reddit post and some forums and read about like how much money people have spent and like the addiction that goes behind these products. Like it's fucking disgusting. It's gross. It's gross. So I just simply don't play mobile games. I straight up do not play mobile games. I don't boot them up. I don't look at them. I don't research them. The moment I see a game that seems semi-interesting and I see mobile, I go, no thanks. And I turn off my brain and I delete it from my memory. Gone. The moment I see a new game that's announced and it's like service, live service game, delete. I'm not interested. Goodbye. You lost me. And I move on. I go back to playing fucking Monster Hunter 2. No problem. I just boot that shit up again. Like that's it. I've kept it real simple for myself, and I'm susceptible to it too because I'm human. Like I mentioned, playing Genshin Impact, and that game kind of had its fucking tendrils on me for a good while, and until I snapped out of it, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what are we doing here? And I cut ties. Not everybody has that. Not everybody has that moment of clarity. So maybe just stay away from it altogether. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, with all that being said, thank you guys for great conversations. Thank you for those listening and watching. Thank you for your viewership. Appreciate it very much. Leave a comment on the video. Let us know what you think about Gacha games and live service games, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. Let us know down below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the conversation and dislike if you didn't. Subscribe for more content. We do podcasts every single Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And we do a variety of topics, so if you have a suggestion, we'd love to hear from you. All the articles that we reference will be linked in the description. Check us out on the social media. We also have TikTok, a Facebook, Instagram. We also run a Discord. All the links are in the description. Check out Mr. Esoteric on Twitch. He streams on the main channel on Twitch, Logical Gamers TV. He streams every Monday and Friday, or 2 times a week, we'll say. Check him out there. I also stream once a year, so check out my link in the description as well if you want to follow me to know when I go live, whenever the hell that is. Thank you guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace.
Bye.
Take care.